Goeienaand, good evening fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And before showing you an Alice in Wonderland video featuring the Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe talking about the future of Eskom, let me show you the reality.
Hello darkness, my old friend. It's load shedding time again, and we lighting as in days of old, with candles and our food is getting cold, because eskom has sold all our coal, bankrupt and all. Bring on the sound of darkness in looking to power our home. Solar power generator woes, and in the darkness of our street lamps become home feeling cold and damp. When our eyes adjust to the darkness of the night, oh what a sight. Listen to the sound of darkness, and in the late of night I saw 10,000 torches, must be more. People looting say they're not stealing, people tired that they're not listening, people looking for an answer to their prayers. This year they'll dare change the sound of darkness. Who said I don't you know, corruption like a cancer grows. Hear these words of hope I have for you. The status quo must not continue, 'cause his words will never come back void, but bring light to the sound of darkness. And these people bow and pray for a godly government each day, and in 2019 you'll see the power and glory of his victory. See the signs of the coming change, and the people vote ACDP, and then we'll see the light and the sound of darkness.
Okay, now we've got that out of the way, let's have a look at the Alice in Wonderland fantasy based on their track record in the ANC government. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, ring the bell for the updates, please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe.
Minerals and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe joins me in studio to answer, among other questions, that very question posed by Moloko Moloto at the end of that particular insert. But I want to take you back to the numbers, Minister. I'm looking at those numbers, how South Africa's energy mix may look like in 10 years in terms of the new integrated resource plan. Coal will contribute 59% of output. Currently, that figure stands at 95% or thereabout. Now, a gale wind is in the offing, it would seem, which will give, wind is going to give us 18% of our power. Hydropower 8%, solar 6%, nuclear 5%, gas and storage 2%. I guess that's one of the main reasons this plan has been so well received.
You see, One is the numbers get exaggerated sometimes because people say numbers don't lie. Coal-generated power has come down, it's not 90. Take Quebec is supplying 5%, there is Ngula, there is 4.5% from renewables. Obviously, it takes us further down. But that's not the issue. The issue is we have committed to the Paris Agreement to reduce our carbon emissions. And we are committed to that. But the issue that is debated, that's why in the IRP we said there must be a team that looks into the just transition, that you don't just move like a pendulum from one extreme to the other. Be systematic, keep the lights on. If you are in a rush, you may be in darkness. That is the point we're making. So we have allowed in the IRP space for various technologies so that we cannot depend on one. We have learned quite nasty that we depended on coal all the time. When coal got its back against the wall, we're all running and spinning on our tails. We must continue having a balanced source of energy.
Why is that important?
The most important thing is that you don't keep all your eggs in one basket. That's an English expression. And we're proving it correct now. And what is nice about diversity of sources of energy is that when one runs into problem, the other can save the other. And therefore, as a country, we are trying to say so that there is security of energy supply all the time.
Well, some people are arguing that salvation comes at a huge cost for future generations.
This is a very contested space. Energy, I never appreciated how contested until I went there 4 months ago. It's so contested that people will argue that coal must be switched off immediately. See? And one time I offered to some of the lobbyists who came to me, I said, okay, right, I will go to the president and ask the president to switch off all the coal-fired power station and we all breathe fresh air, but in darkness. Then it dawned that you don't move to the extremes. You work systematically, you reduce carbon emissions. That's why in the IRP, we're making provision for coal, for example, but we put a rider. Coal must move to cleaner coal technologies if it is to survive. As it is now, it will not survive. And that is a commitment that we want them to make. That is the commitment we're making to them, that if you move to cleaner coal technologies, we'll work with you.
But then, it is unlikely that people who have been working with coal all along would voluntarily want to do that, because among other things, or in the main, that is going to come at a cost. They will have to invest, in ensuring that they produce coal much more friendly, that is much more friendly to the environment.
Yes, that is exactly the point I'm making. And we say to them, you have an opportunity to invest in those technologies now.
But what happens if they don't invest in those technologies?
If they don't, there is a commitment to reduce carbon emissions. But there is also a commitment to say, let's not just destroy coal. We have too much coal deposits in our country. Let's find a formula for it. We're talking to them. And we say to them, you have a chance now because you're making money, you're exporting a lot of coal. Actually, coal is the leading revenue generator in mining. And we say that space must be used to invest in friendly technologies for coal to survive.
Well, you've been engaging with people who are supplying coal to eskom. Are you seeing any movement?
No, in principle we agreed that, listen, let's look into the prices. We agreed that we can talk about levels. We need to go back to them, have a follow-up meeting. But there was no hostility when we talked to them.
Now, you did make the point today, and you did make it again here, that not only do we have an abundance of coal still, the fact of the matter also is that eskom's coal-fired power stations are going to be with us for a very long
There are
time.
16. There are 16. We have 16 coal-powered power stations, and therefore you are not going to go and switch them all off. 3 are on the line now. Hendrina, Komati, Grootvlei are on the line now. But what we have actually sent a message to government about is that, listen, your build program of the various other options must start now. We must not wait for the end of the life of coal power station. That's what the same is what we say about Quebec. Quebec extend the life by 20 years, but we must begin to build additional nuclear capacity now, because one of the mistakes that we committed as the government, I was not in government at the time, but I'm in government now.
You are running the party that was in government.
Yes. The mistake we committed is when we warned in the late 1990s that, listen, this surplus energy is going to end in 2007. Begin building additional capacity now. We delayed and hoped that private sector will invest, and they didn't invest. When we started in 2004, there was no time. Hence problems in Medupi and Kusile.
Now, you can't talk about all these things and ask all these other stakeholders to do the things you want them to do, like reducing the price of coal, without, of course, making sure that you are fixing eskom where it matters.
Eskom is not in energy now. It's in public enterprise. Make absence. Eskom must be fixed. We agree on that. We looked into the eskom paper by public enterprise minister in cabinet. There's hard work and thinking behind correcting eskom. It's not just the unbundling, because people talk about unbundling in the main. They don't talk about the serious re-looking into the skills. They don't look into the question of how do we galvanize a division in eskom like transmission, which is a more efficient, a more reliable division of eskom, while we are dealing with generation and distribution. And unfortunately, or fortunately, is that generation today is no longer a monopoly of eskom. It is being diversified at a high speed, and that will help the markets, because competition is going to force us to reduce the prices. That's why, as we talk to coal producers, we're talking to window 1, 2, and 3 of the renewables. That listen, guys, these prices, have a look at them.
But I mean, judging by people's responses to the issues that eskom was putting forward yesterday as reasons for this week's load shedding, for example, people are not happy with the pace at which things are moving on the back of promises that President Ramaphosa and the rest of you in cabinet actually made when you came into office.
We didn't have load shedding the whole of the winter. We're getting into the summer where first signs of load shedding, and there is a work that is going into saying we can't go back to load shedding. That work is that people must appreciate the fact that there was a promise that, listen, we must not go to load shedding. And the whole winter we didn't have load shedding. And that's why in the economy, the disastrous quarter 1 was changed in quarter 2. Because in quarter 1, there was prevalence of load shedding, led to the negative growth, which was almost pushing us to a recession. Quarter 2, very little load shedding at the beginning, and there was no load shedding during that. Good performance of the economy. We're looking at quarter 3, we're hoping that it will perform well. So, unfortunately, economics doesn't work in a straight line, because it is not a natural science. It requires effort and interventions, and you must manage it on an ongoing basis.
But, I mean, if you listen to what people were saying over the past few days, well, yesterday especially after that briefing by eskom, it is not so much, it is the fact that there doesn't seem to have been an improvement. Nothing inspired confidence that we will not get back to that Q1 you are talking about.
Again, assumption, if you come across load shedding, you know this, it upsets you. It upsets your program. It makes you angry. Even if you have not reached load shedding 4, load shedding 1 and 2 irritate you. And people get angry. They're justifiable in that. But I can tell you, Vuyo, a lot of work is going into that space to get eskom right. With this IRP, we say, let's diversify the base. For example, if you ask me, what will be the game changer, is when we get our gas sector right, it will be a game changer.
Okay. Now, the plan sees an increased allocations for wind power. You're putting the figure at 18% in the next 10 years or so, and coming as I do from Port Elizabeth, called the Windy City. You know, that's something I would personally
and
welcome.
With the wind farms towards Jeffreys Bay.
Exactly. But 18%, some people say, is quite ambitious, given where we are currently.
Can I tell you why we allocate higher allocation to wind than PV? It's because wind is more cost-effective than PV at this point in time. In window 4, PV is at R1.08 per unit. Wind is at 87 cents per unit. And there is even talk of, if we go to window 5, it may go to 60 cents and 55 cents easily. So if it is more cost effective, it proves to be reliable. If we establish the battery industry for storage, it will be an add-on to the renewables, because at this point in time, the biggest weakness of renewables is that they have no base load capacity. Now, if we develop the battery sector, it will improve the contribution of the renewables in the energy mix.
Now, you spoke also about the role of nuclear, and I want to play a soundbite from someone who attended that briefing and what he had to say about that.
South Africa cannot afford nuclear, not in the short term, not in the medium term, and not in the long term. One of the huge problems is, of course, that nuclear doesn't provide any relief to South Africa's shortage of electricity that we are experiencing today, because nuclear power takes at least 10 years to build a reactor, probably more if experience is to go by in the rest of the world as well as in South Africa on large mega projects such as Medupi and Kusile. So it doesn't bring any short-term relief, and it comes at a massive capital cost that South Africa cannot afford at this time, at a time when really we are looking at tightening belts, we're looking at the possibility of credit rating downgrades. The cost of nuclear comes at a high price.
Is it wrong?
Distortion of facts in a number of areas. It's a lobbyist talking, okay, for a particular technology, and allow them space to say everything they want to say about each other. And I'm warning them that they must not put technologies against one another and create a fight and be polemical. They must allow technology to unfold. You know, from window 1, we buy energy from PV at R4.25, as you and me sit here today. Quebec, which is a nuclear power station, supply energy to eskom at 40 cents a unit. Now, when people talk about low cost, they say it's expensive because nuclear is quite heavy at commissioning. But once it is running, it is efficient, it is reliable, it is quite efficient and cost effective. So if you talk low cost, you count at build. he will be right. But if you look into the factors and the life of a power station, he will be wrong. If we take the example of Quebec, it doesn't relieve us now because we have only one power station, Quebec. Quebec is not one of the problematic power stations. It is efficient, it is reliable, it is cost effective.
Now, you want to extend the Quebec nuclear power plant by its life by another 20 years.
Yes.
Why 20 and not, say, 50?
It's because technologies allow it to extend by another 20 years. It is 40 years old, you extend at 20, it will not be 50, it will be 60 years old by that time. That's why we put a rider that says we must begin to acquire additional nuclear in modular form at a pace and rate that the country can afford.
We've run out of time, but one of the issues you raised today, or one of the promises you made, is that a government will immediately start to buy power from private suppliers. Now, I had a guest last night here on the show who spoke about some of the problems that are encountered by people who sell electricity to the government.
No. Government will not start.
A number of people agitating around the country for the Minister of Energy to allow rooftop and small projects to go ahead and to remove the red tape that is in place that is preventing these projects from happening. In Cape Town, I think there's an application that has now been stalled until May, allowing the municipality to procure that kind of those kind of projects. The simplest way that we could resolve one of the issues is to allow projects of less than 10 megawatts to simply apply for and get registered as rooftop solar projects and allow them to go ahead. As it stands right now, there's a complicated and time-consuming and quite cumbersome process to allow these projects to happen. That will alleviate some of the load.
Government is not going to begin. It is consuming all the energy generated by IPPs. Those are private generators. All that energy goes to eskom. That means the state is consuming that energy.
Oh, there's tardiness, inefficiencies.
Wait. Sasol is generating its own energy. It sells its extra energy to the grid. Now, I don't want us to bring the Cape Town case to this IRP because it has its own political elements that have features of cessation. I was talking to the CEO of Anglo Platinum this afternoon, and I said, I read in the newspapers that there are many mining companies that want to self-generate. And I said, where is the list of these companies? I have not seen them. We are reading about them. So there is a difference between imagination and facts. So the Cape Town case is a separate one. They want to go to court. They want to do all sorts of things because they use an energy to express their desire to secede. So I don't want to mix that case with the energy generation.
But outside of Cape Town, are you saying that the system is working perfectly well? I'm
saying I've not seen a company that say want to self-generate and therefore give us a license to self-generate. Solar is everywhere. People have solar panels everywhere. They don't need any license because it's less than 1 megawatt. They're doing what they do. If people want to generate electricity for national consumption, they will have to get licenses and they will apply. They will not talk to the media and everybody else and not go and apply and talk of red tape. Red tape you experience when you go there. If they have not arrived, they cannot accuse us of red tape.
Very last question. What is Cabinet's view on where eskom should belong?
I think Cabinet has been quite clear on that. Though it is with Minister Kotan, I can tell you that it is agreed that, listen, unbundle eskom into divisions that are clearly demarcated with their own boards that can run efficiently, independently. You can allocate your debt to where it belongs. Two, allow generation to be diversified as it is, allow distribution to be diversified, because distribution is done by eskom 50% by municipalities. Improve transmission to be more a market which wheels the demand of electricity from point X to point Y. And unstrategic assets must be disposed of. What is left is that, what are these unstrategic markets? Because you can't debate unstrategic markets and take concrete decision until you know what are these unstrategic assets.
So, thanks very much for coming through.
Thank you.